Hello everybody, this is Shane R. Monroe, and I'm going to be showing you the Xbox Elite wireless controller. Now this is the $150 unit. It's supposed to be all pro and super configurable and all that good stuff. So I'm going to take you on a little tour here and show you, and you can decide for yourself whether you think it's worth 150 bucks or not. Anyway, this is the box. I've already opened it and did some opening pictures. You probably already saw that on Google+. So when you go inside the box, you'll already immediately see that it's got its own deluxe case, and it's very nice quality, a hard protective case. Underneath you'll find a very nice braided cable for USB. Now you can use USB with the controller on your PC, but obviously wireless is better. This does not have a wireless adapter with it, so you need to purchase that separately, or you'll have to use it wired. It's a nice long cable, good quality. So, and we'll get the boxes out of the way. Alright, so what about the controller itself? So we got this nice hard case, and inside we have the controller itself in its original configuration, except for this piece of tape that got stuck to it somehow. And you can see inside there's a handful of other little accessories and some empty slots, so we'll take a look at those in just a minute. So for now, let's just put this guy to the back and let's look at the controller itself. So the first thing that people notice is this weird looking D-pad, and what this D-pad is made to do is it's got the 4 directions for the D-pad, but it also has, these are raised here for diagonals. So a lot of times when you're using diagonals, you need to put more pressure or equalize pressure across these 2 directions, such as up and right. These being raised means you can quickly and more easily rotate through, say, a special move in Mortal Kombat. You can feel how it's working. I know you can't really see it, but if you can hear it maybe clicking just a little bit, it's got a full range of motion, rather. Now, you can change this out for the regular D-pad. We're going to do that in just a minute. Get out of here. All right, so you'll notice on the front it looks a lot like a regular controller. Looks very similar to this Xbox One controller. The only thing you may notice a little different is this 1-2 button. If you look at the top, you have your standard micro USB charger, a syncing up, a sync button, your right and left triggers and bumpers. It's pretty much the front and the top. Now you will notice that this is, well, you can't really tell probably, but there's nice textured rubber back here. Feels really good in the hands. Whereas if you look at this one, it's plastic all around, right? So this gives it an immediate feel of quality holding on to it. The way that if you're comfortable with a regular Xbox controller, you'll be right at home with this guy. So at the bottom, of course, you have your standard headphone jack and your accessory port, just like this guy does, same exact thing. All right, but it's the back side that really starts throwing people, and you can see here there's like some sort of teeth or something sticking out down there. What is this? So let's take a look at the back side. The back side has 2 little levers here, and I'm going to talk about those in a minute. It also has a total of 4 flappers, if you will. Now, if you're holding the controller normally, right, these 2 fingers here have access. It's showing up on the film, okay? Right, and then you have the top 2, right? So these are 4 configurable buttons. You can remap existing buttons to these, and I'm going to show you that in a little bit, or you can remap them to something completely different. Now these guys are really cool. These are short throw switches, right? There's one for each trigger. And what this does is it limits or changes how deep these controller triggers can go. Now you'll watch a full range of motion, right? If I were to slide these on, I now have a less range of motion. All the way down. Sorry, it's hard to do this on the camera. Part of the way down. Easier to feel, harder to show. So if you have, these are both set for short pulls. So what does that mean? That means faster trigger pulls, right? So if you instinctively, if you're a hard presser like me and you're in the middle of a game and you're, I've got this set for regular, right? It's a longer time between the time your finger, starts pushing the button till it gets to the bottom there, the trigger, and then back up. If you turn on the short switch, It's a shorter distance to make the actual action occur. Hard to explain, like I said, easier to try out on your own. I personally love the short switches, both for aiming down sights and for firing. It just works very well. And again, as I mentioned before, you have these four, and of course your battery case to put your AA's in, which it does come with. All right, let's talk about the customization of this thing. So apparently this is like, you can make it however you want. This is the Elite, you can do it. Right, well you can see here that there are two thumb knobs, two different sets of thumb knobs for your sticks and a different D-pad. Now the first thing people are going to instinctively do is take this off. Now this is just magnetic. It works very well. It's not hard to pull up at all. Two fingers. Right? Just try not to fling the thing. There you go. Right? So here's what this guy looks like. It's metal. It's not plastic. And so now you can see the hole. And like I said, it's magnetic. So when we replace it with this guy, okay, so this is your standard D-pad, good for 4-direction games. Just pops right on. It doesn't come off. And now you have your distinctive 4 directions again. Or if you just want to go back to the standard D-pad. But I heartily recommend you give this a try, especially if you're playing games that require rolling actions, right, or a lot of diagonals. For things like Call of Duty or whatever, your standard 4 directions probably fine and probably better for what you're looking to do. All right, so now we have these other little toppers. Again, these pop right off. I mean, they're magnetic. They're not going anywhere, right? You can see the magnetic pull. They're not going anywhere, but you can take these off and replace them with these rounded ones if you'd like, right? So you have a little more, there's also a little more height involved, right? More throw as well. So there's different types, not just of the knobs themselves, right? But of the thickness and the height, right? So as you can see, this one's considerably higher now than it was before. Right, so let me take that off. You can see here. Right? So now you got the lower close to the vest type control, and here you have considerably higher controls. I'm not sure why you would want this, but I'm assuming there's a reason, right? Otherwise they wouldn't have packed it that way. So you have these taller ones, and then you also have the taller rounded tipped. For those of you who don't like this edge, I love the edge. This is my favorite part of the controller. So I keep these on. These are my favorite. The standard old guys. I'm old school. I like it the old way. All right, but what about these guys on the back? What about these things? What if you don't like these things or you're not going to use them? If you're not going to use these things, consider getting the standard controller, because this is where these items here, the two short throw switches and these 4 configurable buttons, are what really separates this unit from, say, the standard controller. Now you're probably asking, well, what if I only want 2 of these? Can I take the other ones off? The answer is absolutely. They pop right off, and again, they're so well built, right? You just stick them in the hole, they magnetically pop down, and then they're there. Very short pulls on them, as you can see. You can hear them clicking. Nice micro switch. So I'm going to take these off because I honestly don't use these at this point in time because I don't have a game yet that needs the extra ones. I'll just throw those on here. They fit right in here nice and neat, by the way. Here, let me put this in here. Like I said, the whole thing is very, very posh and prestigious, right? So I'm going to keep the 2 big ones here. Now, notice how these are nice and recessed, rather. So even if your fingers are on the back here, the chances of you hitting these other buttons are like, there isn't a chance. I mean, I can push them in if I really try hard, but they're not going to get accidentally pushed. So for me, I like this. This is my thing. I got a couple extra down here, and I have the regular controls. So that's how I like to have it set up. Now this button here allows you to toggle between 2 configurations. So if you play, say, 2 different styles of games, you play Call of Duty, but you also play, say, The Forest, right? And The Forest requires a whole bunch of different buttons, different types of configuration. You can set it up one way and quick toggle by tapping and going to configuration number 2. And again, it's all configurable, and I'm going to show you how that works in just a moment. But this is the basics of the hardware piece of it. Now, coupled with the software is what really gives you the edge. Now, this unit is slightly heavier than the original unit. It's a little bit heavier, not much, but you can tell. I mean, it's noticeable, so it's got to be at least a little bit. But again, something I can't express to you in the video, but the feel of this controller, right? This feels cheap. Now remember when you first got one of these controllers, it felt super premium. Now it feels cheap compared to this. It feels great, and it feels sturdy, right? There's a little, hear that? There's a little creaking going on here. None of that going on here. This thing's a tank, right? So there are definitely, everyone's like, well, look at this. I mean, $150 versus $60. I mean, that seems, this is double the price. Can it be worth it? Hard to say, depending on your needs, of course. All right, so this is the controller itself. This is the hardware. This is what it comes with. Again, it's very nice. It is compatible with the Nyko charging packs and things like that. They did nothing different in here internally. In fact, I'll give you a little secret. My Nyko pack is still in there, and typically I use a Nyko over the top. Dust in my house. It's unbelievable. So this is sort of what my configuration looks like. This rattles a little bit, so sometimes I put a little piece of tape. That's where the tape came from. I put a little piece of tape here just to keep this door from rattling. I don't like the rattling door, so I'll put a little piece of tape on there, but I didn't want to show you that in the video. All right, so anyway, that's that. So let's move on to the software configuration portion, and I'm going to be using Windows 10. I'm not sure how you do this outside of Windows 10 because it's a Windows 10 application. It's the Xbox Accessories application, and we're going to flip over to that right now, and we'll show you how it works. All right, we are now inside of Windows 10, and I have the Xbox Accessories application running, and it's waiting for a controller to connect. So we're going to go ahead and turn on the controller. There we go, and it picks up the controller. All right, so now we have a couple of different options here. Now you'll see in Config 1, it's currently in Config 1 mode. If you tap the Config button, slide the control button, it goes to Config 2. So you can quickly and easily see what you have set up for each controller configuration. Now I haven't messed with Config 2, so let's go and take a look at the configuration screen itself. All right, so we can restore the defaults if we want to. We can move things around from slot to slot, right? So we can take config 1 and save it to slot 2. So if we have a similar configuration, we don't have to start over again. Delete, rename, copy. You can do all sorts of good stuff. And you can have more than 1 and 2. You just flip them and switch them out, right? So I could create a new configuration. Configuration 3 works fine. And we're just going to go ahead and leave it as the default, right? So now I've got a config 3, and I can move them around slots, right? Save to slot 2, etc., etc. All right, so there's community configurations as well, and I haven't done a whole lot of experimentation in here, but people have contributed their own. Let me go back here so I'm not actually. All right, let me try this. I don't want to wipe over what I've already done. So if you go to Dead Rising, you can see that it does some like percentages, right? This is like I'm assuming this is like a 50% pull, blah, 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 blah. You can add it to your configurations. All right, and now I've got Dead Rising, and I can save it to one of the slots. So I can save it to slot 2. There you go. Now I've got Dead Rising 4 as my configuration, and all of the good stuff that comes with it therein. So what does it take to edit one of these guys, and how far can you actually take it? I got to hand it to Microsoft. Normally, they don't spend a ton of time on their software implementation with these hardware devices, but they did a pretty good job here. Right, so you could restore the defaults from here, but if you really want to go in and edit, you got to do it here. So you have some controls in terms of dead zones and all that other stuff. So if you really want to get deep into it, you can. You can even change the brightness of the Xbox button. How about that? So in case you like to play it dark, you can. That's pretty neat, right? That's all pretty cool stuff. Triggers, of course, right? So this is the trigger dead zones, right? So instead of actually having to lock those down, you could simulate that using these trigger configurations. But let's be honest. What are you going to do in here? You're going to map the buttons, right? That's how it's going to work. And this is great once you get used to it, but it took me a few minutes of fooling around to make this actually work the way I wanted it to work. And I don't know what it's doing sitting here spinning. can only sit here and vamp for a certain amount of time here, people. Let's go back into that again. There we go. All right, so right now you can see my config one. It's all set, right? So I've got these two items. Now these two paddles are set for left stick pushing and right stick pushing. And you can confirm that by choosing the button to look at, right? So we're going to say lower left paddle, and you can see that it's mapped to left stick click, right? You can change it to whatever you want. Right, so you can change to other stuff, right? Or you can unmap it or whatever, right? So you can make it open the menu if you want to. All right, I'm going to go back to my left click stick. All right, so you can swap the sticks, you can invert X and Y, so you can do a whole bunch of other things here, and you can even swap the triggers quickly and easily. So if for some reason you want to aim down sights, maybe left-handed people play that way, I don't know. So you have a pretty nice little means of reconfiguration here. People have asked me, can you assign it to a keyboard shortcut? The answer appears to be no. Maybe somebody knows how to do that. I don't. However, you can go into the application itself and reassign. Now you'll notice right now it's set for A and B to be these other two back paddles, the upper paddles, if you will. So that's really it, you know. And then when you back out, you're all set. You can even go in and control the vibration sensitivity. And these do, by the way, have the trigger, the isolated trigger rumbles. A lot of people don't know about these things. These only have recently come about. These trigger rumbles are insane. Very few games, unfortunately, use them right now. But these are on the Xbox One controllers, the newer advanced controllers. And you get an individual rumble for these fingertips. The best game I can tell you, if you really want to test these guys out, is God of War 4. You will feel differences in how it works. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. I love it. But yeah, so that's pretty much the extent that you can configure it, which is really great, you know. And now you're ready to go, and the configurations are immediately accessible, and you can use them right away. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the Xbox Wireless Elite controller. Bottom line, is it worth $150? You have all the information now. The only thing that you don't have the information on is how does it feel in your hand and how does it perform. You're going to have to find that out for yourself. I can't give you that in a video. I can tell you that I've loved this controller from the moment I put my hands on it. It's my go-to controller. I don't use the other controller unless I absolutely have to, which I don't. So this is great. I recommend you find a store with a good return policy. Pick one of these up and try it for yourself. You know what it does, see what it does for you, and then make the call. Knowing what I know now, would I go back and purchase one of these if I had not received this as a gift? Before I got this thing, I would have said absolutely not. Now it's like, I might. I really might. So your mileage may vary, of course, as always. This is Shane R. Monroe, Passenger Seat Radio, NVIDIA Shield Zone, and everything else. I can't even begin to remember. I hope you enjoyed this. Take care.